In this episode, I'll be talking about how to 10x your online course business.
Welcome to the Online Course Coach Podcast, brought to you by TrueFocusMedia.com. Whether you're a beginner or expert, this is the podcast for the latest in online course creation tips, news, interviews, and ideas. And here's your coach, Jeff Long.
Welcome back to another episode of the Online Course Coach Podcast. Again, my name is Jeff Long, and this is the podcast where we talk about everything from the beginning stages, just thinking about starting an online course, planning it, building your audience, launching, marketing, selling, all that good stuff, because I have a passion to teach. Now, if you're brand new to the show, I'm a practitioner. All right, I've been doing this for years. I've been building out courses for clients, sometimes large companies, sometimes online influencers, and I've had my own courses throughout the years. And so I'm not just some, marketer that's hopping on the bandwagon and saying, hey, that's a good thing. I'm going to make some courses about courses and sell courses and talk about courses. No, this podcast is a passion of mine. I come from a family of educators. I love to teach and train. And, I don't even have a course on the website on how to create a course. All right. So, my goal is really to help you. So those of you that have been listening for a long time, you know that. In fact, I've really appreciated so many of you reaching out to me and just saying how much you enjoy the episodes. That does mean a lot to me. That kind of puts fuel on the fire. Another thing, I just looked at the stats yesterday, and I hardly ever look at stats, partly because I just don't want to think about it. I just want to make this content and put it out there. But we just passed the 100,000 download mark just the other day, maybe a week or two ago, which is which is pretty cool. All right. So that was just kind of a shocker. That's 100,000 downloads. That is fantastic. Today, I'll be talking about how to 10x your online course business. And towards the end of the show, I'll also be talking about a potential project I have with a Fortune 500 company to create a huge amount of training material for them. So you might be interested in that and how you can scale your growth to be able to do that too. When I first started, I wouldn't have had the capability, the talent, the team, the skill, the confidence, the abilities to do that. But I do now because I've scaled throughout my business. And so make sure to listen to the end of the episode for that. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you're excited about planning, building, marketing, and growing your online course. Whether it's your first one or you've created many, you want to leverage the power of online courses. You want to build your impact, and obviously you want to increase your income. I just went through a time where I was learning a new kind of skill or side business, and I was consuming content like crazy, reading books, taking courses, listening to podcasts. But until I actually got off the couch and did what I was learning, it was important, right? I needed to go through that learning phase, but I needed to then go through the doing phase. So if you've been thinking about creating a course, researching, listening to these podcasts, consuming content, videos, all that stuff, I really want you to get the maximum result, because I know that some of you, you can go through a course about a course, right? And it's helpful. Some of you, it's just not your thing. And I completely understand that. You have questions you want to ask. You have maybe technical things you want to consider. Maybe you're scared or nervous or not sure how to do a specific part of building your course. So I've been talking about this for a couple shows, and we're almost up to the deadline. So this is probably the last episode I'll be talking about the group coaching program. So do yourself a favor. Go to onlinecoursecoach.com/group coaching, and that's where I have more details about this group coaching program that starts September 18th. All right, I already have several people in there. I did have a couple pull out. They weren't able to make the commitment, and so there are spots available. Just real briefly, you get personal access to me and a group of motivated course creators. You can ask questions throughout the process. I'm really excited about that. Just yesterday, I was emailing some of the people that are going to be in it, writing some notes about what they want to learn, and just getting so excited. This is going to be awesome. I'll be having video recordings of each session for you to access both during the 6 weeks and after. And then we'll have a group, a way of communicating, personally, whether that's a Facebook group. We can even do email if that's what works better for people. But I really want to have that group interaction. And then we'll be going through my proven plan to help you create your online course, even if you're not technical. All right. So we're not going to be diving into code and all that stuff. We'll be going through a marketing plan to grow your audience and increase your sales, even if you're just starting out. So some of the people that are in there have courses, some don't. Some want to sell more, and some just want to, sell the first one. And the good thing is that all of this is cheaper than my one-on-one coaching plan. So you'll still get personalized help to create your course, but at a cheaper price. And the next time I do this group coaching, I'll be raising the prices. So for this for this first round, it's going to be, the cheapest it's going to be. So if you've been thinking about creating an online course, but really haven't been able to, maybe it's been a motivation thing, a technical challenge, or whatever that is, now's the time. All right, so fill out the application because we're just about to start that 6-week coaching program. If you do miss the deadline, you can still fill out that application. That way you can kind of go into the bucket for the next session. But my encouragement would be to, hey, if you're interested in creating a course, let's do it together starting September 18th. And so go to the website, go to onlinecoursecoach.com/group coaching. Now, if you've gone to the website, filled out the application, but you haven't heard from me, please reach out to me through the contact page. I had somebody fill out the application, but somehow there was a glitch and it didn't get sent to me. So thankfully we figured that out and he's in the group coaching program now. Otherwise, I don't know, he might have thought, hey, I'm in the program and would have never heard from me. And then I have heard from a few people that when I first sent some emails and contacts, they said, hey, Jeff, I'm interested, count me in. If you said that and I haven't reached out, if you haven't reached back out to me, because I've sent a couple emails or I've reached out to you, maybe check your, if you're in Gmail, check your promotions folder, your social folder, maybe different folders, because I want to make sure that we have the right amount of people in here and a good fit, because I am limiting this to under 10 people. So today we're talking about how to 10x your online course business. And this topic was discussed in the mastermind I'm in a couple years ago, and it's really been intriguing to me how to 10x your business. That sounds great. Hey, that's fun. I want to do that. How do you do that? So we're going to be talking about how to do that with your online course business, but I want to play a few seconds of a video from Strategic Coach on the very topic. So Dan Sullivan talks about, hey, it's easier to grow 10x than 2x. So I'll play the first about 30 seconds, and then I'll have the link to the actual video in the show notes and on the website, because I want you to listen to it and watch it there rather than putting it in the podcast. So this is a short clip of why growing 10x is easier than going 2x.
I'd like to discuss an idea that really gets people's attention when I say it, and this is the idea that as an entrepreneur, it's a lot easier to grow 10 times than it is to go for 2 times progress and growth. Now, when I say this, I can see people's heads shake, wondering how this could possibly be true. And I say it has to do with what immediately happens to your thinking, your innovation, your decision-making, your communication, and your action the moment that you fix your brain on a 10 times goal.
So with that as our framework, I want to talk today about how to 10x your online course business. So here are 8 strategies I recommend and things that I wish I would have done when I first started or in the middle of my career or wherever that is. You can apply these whether you've been doing this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years or whether you're just brand new in your business, building your audience, building your expertise. You can use these same 8 strategies to grow and 10x your online course business and to grow and 10x your business. All right, well, let's get into the show today. We're talking about how to 10x your online course business. So regardless of if you have a course, if you have many courses, whatever that is, I want you to grow your online course business. And I understand that your online course is just one part of your business, right? The goal is to have multiple streams of income. So maybe you have an online course about your topic. Maybe you have some group coaching, maybe one-on-one coaching. Maybe you speak about it. Maybe you're writing a book. Maybe you have a service, that does what you're talking about. There needs to be multiple channels in the same topic or general industry. All right. You don't want a course about basket weaving and then coaching on how to throw a football and then speaking on, how to become president. Right? You want these to be congruent where they're all in a similar vein. So like I said, this podcast is for beginners and experts alike. So whether you don't have a course or you have many, you'll learn something new. So we're going to be kind of stepping into this step by step. So we're going to start out simple and go more complex. So the first thing is you really need to consider selling the benefits of your course and the results, not just the topic, or not just, hey, I have a course. All right. Nobody's going to buy a course. They're going to buy the benefits. They're going to buy the results that they're going to get. And so a lot of times, in fact, I was just on a Facebook group yesterday and the person said, hey, I'm thinking about my course for X. Here are, my top 5 ideas, how to build your own blank, or building your blank 101 or building your blank for beginners. And it was just very topical, here's how to do it. All right. So, I told him how to have a title that's catchy and then a description. And that description should be benefit heavy. It could be a benefit statement. It could have 3 benefits. It could address fears. There's several ways you can address that. But you really need to sell the benefits and results, not just, hey, world, I have a course. All right. You're not a course maker. You're a solutions provider. So that's really the first thing you need to think about. And it's really just a mindset shift. All right. So when I'm talking with, I work with some really large companies. I don't go in and say, hey, company, I create courses and e-learning content. No, I talk about the strategies we use to educate employees or even customers. I talk about the time savings that their HR manager, doesn't have to train one-on-one or in a group. They could have, this system on their platform where people can go through it automatically and just all the benefits. And sometimes I even calculate the cost savings. I say, hey, if we make this course content, we can save you hours and hours of time ongoing. And then I calculate how much that might be worth to them. And that makes it a no-brainer. If I just came in and said, hey, I have a video camera and we can make a website and I can create the content for you, it's going to be $10,000. All right. There's no way they're going to do that, right? I need to sell the benefits of the course, not the course itself. All right. The second way to 10x your online course business is all about expenses. All right. If you only think about your expenses, you really can't scale your business. But if you look at investing your money in ways to get a return on your money, then you can definitely grow. So, that's really what held me back early on in my business. I looked at everything as an expense. I didn't want to necessarily improve myself. I didn't want to network. I didn't want to upgrade equipment. Everything was an expense. And yes, I was poor. I was on a shoestring budget. So, it wouldn't have been good had I bought the newest and most expensive, Mac, Apple computer or, something like that. So I'm not advocating for wasting money, but I look at everything. I look back at that time in my life and I really feel like I could have grown my business a lot faster if I would have used money to invest in myself and invest in my business to grow. So honestly, I wish I would have hired a coach early on. A lot of times I just sat in my office and kind of waited for the phone to ring. And yeah, I was researching, I was learning, but I didn't have any paying clients for a while, or, they would be very sporadic, very sporadic. Now this was 2003, I think it was back then. I was just starting out. And, so I would go to networking events and I would do different things. And I had 2 business partners at the time. So we had some jobs, some clients and some income, but it wasn't as, didn't have as many as I would have hoped. So looking back, here's probably what I would have done or recommend, to myself back then. I would have taken courses. All right. And back then, those really weren't a thing, online. I mean, it was just very sporadic. It was probably more like CD-ROMs and DVD training and stuff like that. And that's fine. I mean, training is training no matter what the mode. But I should have done more of that. I should have done more one-on-one coaching. I should have hired somebody that was further in their career than me. And that could have been in my specific niche or industry, but it could have been even in a business type of coaching as well. I think I've hired different ones. I've hired people that have helped me with my business as a general thing, and then I've hired people for specific types of things. So where are you on that spectrum? Are you too cheap and it's stunting your growth? It's halting your success, or maybe are you on the other extreme? Maybe you're spending money, but you're actually wasting money because you think that buying new things for your office, for your business will equal success. So I want to make sure you're spending money on the right things, the effective things that will help you 10x your online course business. Now, the third way to 10x your online course business is you have to have a plan for growth and success, right? You can't just go into this kind of blindly. This includes building an audience that knows, likes, and trusts you, both before, during, and after you create your course. And I find, and I've said this before, I find this is one of the differentiators between the successful course creators and the not as successful is the size of their audience. All right. So if you don't have an audience, if you don't have influence, you really need to start building that. All right, I've done many podcasts about that. You can go and search about marketing, about growing your audience, and we'll talk about some strategies here in a minute. But you really have to have a plan. So it's not just about creating the course. If you don't have an audience, you really need to have that as a pillar in your strategy to sell, even before you sell your course. You want to be giving value. So that could be in Facebook groups. It could be, in networking groups. It doesn't have to be online. In fact, I think some of the best ways to build your influence is in person. The more people that can get to know you, the better. So make sure to have a plan. Now, that plan could be written out. It could be in bullet points. It could be, a 3, 6, 9, 12 month plan. One book that I recommend is called The 12-Week Year. It's by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. And it really goes through, instead of having annual goals, what if we could speed that up and condense a year into 12 weeks? And so they go through a specific strategy on how to do that. I'm actually going through that right now with my mastermind group, and it's been a lot of fun, and I've seen some growth there. So if you don't have a plan for growth and success, check out the 12-Week Year book or audiobook, obviously. Now, the next strategy to grow to 10x your online course business is something that I think should be talked more about. It's about borrowing the confidence of others so that you can do what other people think you can do. All right. So if you have your spouse, your business partner, your audience, if people are telling you that you can or should do, hey, you should make a course, you should borrow their confidence in you. All right. If they're confident in you, why are you not confident in you? I've talked about this internally in our mastermind group. We kind of had a whole discussion about this. Sometimes people are more confident in us than we are in ourselves. And that's not a good thing, because we have all the doubts. What if this doesn't work? What if I fail? What if, and I don't know if you're like me, but most of the time, the what ifs don't ever happen. So I think it's okay to plan for the worst, have a backup plan. But if you're always thinking of your backup plan, if you're always thinking why it won't work, I would encourage you to flip it around to, hey, when this works, I will blank. When this works, I'll be able to have more time freedom. Or when this course works, I'll have more money for, Christmas presents for my family. Or, whatever that is, think about the positive. Don't think about the negative. So if you need to borrow the confidence of somebody, then do it. All right. So if they think you can do it, you probably can. And it's that old statement. I don't know if it was Henry Ford or, who it was. If you think you can or can't, you're probably right. So if they think you can do it, you probably can. And if you think you can't, well, you probably can't. So which do you want to do? Do you want to just kind of sit back there and just kind of not do stuff the rest of your life? Or do you want to accomplish things? Do you want to build this course? Do you want to grow your course business? Then you really need to borrow the confidence of other people. And I've done that in different times of my life with different things. And it's kind of interesting how it works. So I would encourage you to do that as well. All right. The fifth strategy to grow your online course business by 10x is to build your network. All right. We talked a little bit about this with, having a plan, and people have to know, like, and trust you, but let's kind of go in depth with this. So the more people that know you, the more success you will have with more projects and larger projects, and more customers or clients will be coming to you. And it's kind of like this big snowball that rolls downhill. In fact, I'm going through this right now, meaning I'm in a premium course, and there's a private Facebook group, and somebody interviewed me, 6 to 9 months ago. And we kind of have this relationship, and she reached out to me and said, "Hey, Jeff, I've been consulting with this Fortune 500 company. We want to create some course material, a bunch of videos, like over 50, and have you build out a whole e-learning platform and just all this stuff. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Of course." So had I not had this network, had I not interacted with people, if I would have just stayed in my office and not even done this podcast or not reached out to other people, that never would have happened. So again, I've talked in depth about the importance of going on podcast interviews. So if you don't have a podcast, that's fine. You can go on other people's podcasts and talk about your expertise. And I highly, highly recommend that. Now, here's a key. If you only say, at the end when the podcast interviewer says, "Hey, Bob, tell me about your course or your website or whatever." If you just say, "Hey, go to mywebsite.com and check me out," that's not going to grow your audience. All right. Because even if they go to your website, and even if there is an opt-in somewhere, they have to find it. So you want to remove the complexity. You want to remove the clicks. You want to reduce the clicks. So you have to create either like a landing page or an opt-in page or something. So you could use lead pages, which you can find at onlinecoursecoach.com/lead pages, or ConvertKit, which is onlinecoursecoach.com/ConvertKit. Both of those are affiliates, by the way, but I use both of those and highly recommend them. And you can create these really simple but effective and attractive looking opt-in pages. And so if you're on a podcast, you can say, "Hey, go to podcastname.com/guide," or, awesome stuff, or, whatever that is. And that will help you grow your audience. Now, you can also go to conferences and just attend. All right. I've done that. I've talked about, different ones I've been to, whether it's FinCon or Social Media Marketing World or podcasting ones, of course, is blanking right now. I've been to industry-specific ones. I've been to even real estate investing ones that aren't in my industry, but I've been able to talk to people and meet people and pick up some clients. And so think about different conferences that are in your industry, parallel to your industry, or even outside of your industry, and you might be surprised at some of the traction you get. Now, I talked with being on podcasts, but creating your own podcast is a way where you can directly talk to your audience, one-to-many, weekly, daily, monthly, whatever you want. And that's why I love this podcast. I get to talk directly to you about what I want. All right, what I think is important. So as I'm talking with my coaching students, when I'm talking with my corporate clients, or when I'm just seeing things online or seeing different trends, I can deliver those to you. I don't have to knock on the door of another podcast and say, hey, I want to talk about X today. Do you want to have me on? All right, I can talk directly. And it's funny, this podcast came as a result of me during my workout yesterday morning. All right. I was listening to something completely different. I'm trying to even think what it was. It was probably a business podcast of some sort. And this idea just kind of popped into my mind. And so I, pause the workout for a second. I'd write some notes. I'd keep working out. I'd pause the workout. I'd write some notes. And I kept going until I had all of these steps here. And so, again, I could just deliver this content. Now, I've thought about creating, a course on how to how to create a podcast for course creators. If that's something that would be interesting to you, go to the contact page and just let me know, like, Jeff, that'd be awesome. I've been wanting to know this. But there's other resources out there as well. So again, build your network. The more people that know you, the more success you will have. So do in-person networking groups. So you can go to meetup.com. You can find local meetups in your industry and parallel industries, et cetera, et cetera. Some other strategies that I recommend are creating videos, whether it's just with your smartphone or video camera, whatever that is. Use Facebook Live videos or YouTube Live, or LinkedIn has, video capabilities, and Twitter and any other Instagram, whatever you can use, and wherever your audience is, get on there. Now, I have 2 guides on how to market your course and build an audience. So the first one is 7 ways to market your online course. You can find that at onlinecoursecoach.com/marketing tips. The second one is 5 ways to build an audience for your online course, which is onlinecoursecoach.com/build your audience. Both of those will be in the show notes. And I believe if you're listening to this, on your phone, you can look in the notes section, and the links should be direct through that. So you can just click on those links. All right, now we're getting into more advanced strategies. So this was really holding me back for years. I like I said, I had some business partners for many years, so I was used to having a team. But then when a couple of circumstances happened, I bought one of them out. One of them kind of left the industry and moved back to their home state for a job or whatever. And I really had to rebuild my team. So now I have a pretty powerful team. We can do a lot of things, like this potential project for a Fortune 500 company, as well as some other top shelf clients. And so that was kind of holding me back. I didn't have a team that could multiply my efforts. So if you're just doing everything on your own, you really don't need to. Now, I'm not saying, hey, you have to get full-time employees. I'm not saying even you have to get part-time employees. You can hire people for a project. You can hire just hourly, hey, I just need you a couple hours a week. You can hire VAs that are either in the in your country or out of your country. And I've done all of that. And that really helps me scale my business because I have the right person for the right job. So if you don't have a team around you, if you're trying to do everything, if you're trying to be the marketing department and the course creation and the services and the just everything, you really can't 10x your online course business or your business at all. And that was something that hit me a couple years ago. I had reached this level of success, but it was like I kept hitting my head. I couldn't go any further. Well, I had to multiply myself. All right. I had to multiply my efforts, multiply my success. And so when I built out my team, I was able to do that. All right, the 7th strategy to 10x your online course business is create systems using software to scale up. So if you have teams, you really have to have software. If they're in your office, that's one thing. But if they're not, if they're even in your city or your state or out of the country, you need software to scale up. So some software I use with my team, well, some software I personally use is Wunderlist. That's how I make some of my to-do lists. In fact, that's how I made this podcast. When I was doing my workout, I was writing in Wunderlist in a specific list there. I use Evernote religiously. All right. So I sync that with my team. We have notes back and forth. We also use Trello. It's a program. I don't know. There's many ways you can use it, but there's ways to have different teams. In fact, the people that help me edit this podcast and write the show notes and do some of these things are all done in Trello. So shout out to Ryan and Ezra, who may be listening to this as they're editing and writing the show notes. Maybe they're just listening in 2x speed. Who knows? But, I couldn't do it without them. I couldn't manage the projects without Trello. So that's something. We also use Asana for some other projects. It's also a project management software. So there's so many different pieces of software. I already mentioned, ConvertKit and Lead Pages. And I know it can be overwhelming. Sometimes people come to me and they say, Jeff, there's so many pieces of software. Where do I start? Well, you just start with one or two, And I know there's always a new thing. There's always a next thing, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Just figure out what works for you and create systems. I also use Dropbox religiously. I know some people like Google Drive. Create systems using software to scale up. I could never, in fact, I was just at a meeting and the lady was pulling out her, pen and paper and shuffling through papers. And I realize I'm very digital. My wife is a paper person, all right? So I'm not trying to knock that. But for me, it just seemed very unorganized because what if she lost my file? Or what if, somebody took my file, had some personal information? Whereas personally, I think, if it was all digitized and in folders or Evernote or different things, there's ways to, password protect those and tag them or easily search them. So, sometimes you get more security by having software and systems. And then sometimes you just get more productive because of that. All right, let's review the ways to 10x your online course business. And then I want to talk a little more about this Fortune 500 company that I'm putting a proposal together for. So number one is sell the benefits and results, not the course. Number two is if you only think about your expenses, you can't scale your business. Number three, have a plan for growth and success. Number four, borrow the confidence of a spouse, a business partner, an audience, whoever, because if they think you can do it, you probably can. Build your network is number five, because the more people that know you, the more success you will have. Number six is build a competent team that multiplies your efforts. Number seven, create systems using software to scale up. And then number eight is once you figure out how to do something, simple, you can scale that up. All right. So if you can create one course, you can create many. If you can write one book, you can write many. If you can create a mini course, you can create a larger course. All right. So scaling up, I know that scaling up does bring some challenges, but overall, if you can do something simply, you can do something complex. So I mentioned this Fortune 500 company we're putting a proposal together for. They needed the amount of content they needed on video equals about a 12 to 15 day video shoot. Probably with, 10 to 15 people on set. We're talking about actors and camera people, specialists, lighting, all of that. That's complex, right? Now, I know it can be done because I've done 1 day shoots, 2 day shoots, 3 day shoots, 5 day shoots. I've done all of these. And so scaling up isn't an issue because I have the people around me. I have the experience. I have the knowledge. So once you learn how to do something well, you can learn how to scale it. If you have a small audience, maybe it's an email list, maybe it's a, Facebook audience or whatever your audience is or wherever your audience is, if you've built that, you can scale that up. And so that should be your challenge is how can you scale that up? How can you 10x your online course business? I've had the privilege of working with other very large multinational Fortune 500 companies, you name it. I've had the privilege to work with many of those over the years. And so, I was telling, somebody that's not my first rodeo, right? I've had experience with large, very large companies and institutions creating content for them, whether it's courses or video content or whatever that is. And so when a large client comes to me, I have that experience because I have scaled up in the past, In fact, I always look for challenges where I can do that. So wherever you are in your business, if you're just starting out, or if you don't have a course or have a course, where in your business can you scale up? Where can you challenge yourself? Because if you're not challenging yourself, you're not growing. So if you don't have projects that scare you, I think that you're not going to succeed as much as you could. All right, I talked about this last week. I was going through this real estate investing stuff, and it was scary. It was money, it was time, it was commitment. What if I'm wrong? What if it was in the wrong area or whatever? It was really scary. But now that I look back, I'm like, that was easy. Let's do more. All right. And so that's what I want it to be with your business, with your courses. You might be thinking, oh, course is so scary. There's so many technical challenges, or what if it fails, or blah, blah, blah. Well, once you jump through those hoops and look back, I can almost guarantee that it will excite you to either do more or to scale that one course in different ways. So how can you scale your business? How can you challenge yourself? If you're not scared about something, I don't know, that just seems boring to me. And maybe it's a personality thing. I've had a lot of projects in the past where, a client will say, hey, Jeff, can you and your company, create X, Y, or Z? And I know that I can. I know we have different components, we can put together, we can custom create this, and we can optimize that, and we can, put it all together. And I know it'll work, but I haven't done it in that capacity or that specific application. And so it's scary. It's like, what if this doesn't work? But it's exciting because I think if this works, I can really serve the client. I can make them successful. I can help them achieve their goals and objectives. And that excites me. So again, I could go on and on about how to almost run scared in your business in a good way, or how to use fear in a good way, because I feel like I've done that in so many parts of my business throughout the years. But really, it all comes down to, are you scaling your business? If you can do something small, if you have a career in doing X, why can't you have a course on that same topic? Right? That's scaling, right? So instead of doing one-on-one, training, you're creating a course that's one to many, and that is how you scale. So those are 8 ways that you can 10x your online course business. Which ones are you going to implement? And that's really what I want to encourage you to do. Don't just listen. Don't just get motivated. Sometimes we get motivated to listen to the next podcast, or motivated to work that day, or motivated to just be motivated. But I want you to be motivated to take one of these strategies and implement them. Maybe it's the marketing strategies. Maybe you need to go to onlinecoursecoach.com/marketing tips. Or maybe you need to build your audience even more. So you go to onlinecoursecoach.com/build your audience with no spaces. Whatever that is, I want to challenge you to take action, to do one of these things today. Some of these topics may seem overly simple, and maybe you're kind of thinking, well, Jeff, these all sound good, but how do I put this into practice? I really wish I would have had, I'm speaking personally here, I really wish I would have had this information when I first started out, because I felt like I was kind of just plugging along, right? I didn't have the strategy in place. I didn't build the audience. I didn't have some of these things in place. And so, as I was thinking just yesterday, what would I say to somebody that wants to grow their course business or just their business in general? And so that's where these strategies come into place. All right, well, that is all for today. Again, don't forget to go to onlinecoursecoach.com/group coaching, fill out the application, learn more about it. Or if there's somebody that maybe you're in a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or whatever that is, and they've been thinking about creating a course or talking about it, but they just haven't been able to maybe get motivated or they feel overwhelmed with all the steps or the options or, what software do you use or I don't know how to use a camera, we're going to cover that, and we're going to talk about how to create simple content that's effective without having to be, a techie. All right. So make sure to send the website to that person if you know somebody that wants to create a course. Again, that's onlinecoursecoach.com/group coaching. Now, if you're listening to this after September 18th, after we started that group coaching, you can still fill out the application. I'll be putting those kind of in a queue for the next round. But like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I will be raising those rates for the next round. So every time, we do it, it improves, it gets better, it's more valuable. And so the price will probably go up each time, maybe significantly even. We'll see. All right. Well, that is all for today. Keep coming back to the show. And if you haven't been to the website, if you haven't been to onlinecoursecoach.com to see some of the videos, to get some of the guides, you can find those on the resources page. Obviously, go to onlinecoursecoach.com. So whether I can help you through this podcast, through group coaching, through those videos or guides, it's really my honor. I've talked about this before. I want to help 5 million people get taught through these online courses. And that's not through me. All right. That's through you. That's through, our network here together. It's going to be a group effort. I look forward to hearing more of your success stories. I love hearing where you are, where you're going, and some of those successes. So as I say with every podcast closing, it is my goal to help you to teach many to impact millions.